little baby armadillo. I thought it was a little bunny rabbit at first. It's cool looking. Aw, hello little fella. Hello there. Hi. Hello little fella. Apparently they make good pets. Wow, I know some people that found baby ones that were lost. Something happened to their parents. And they were little tiny, like newly born, and they raised them, and they get along with the cats and fairly clean animals. That shell protects them. It's pretty cool. You just go into town. You can see how the birds and the other animals get along. Too bad humans can't be like that, but that's what happens when you have a bunch of chicken swingers running your government. You end up going to war with Iran and other countries like that. This is how we should be living, in harmony with each other. That's why I like coming out to places like this. It's peaceful. This is over here in Port Orange. There's a Circle K right behind us, and I come out here with Ashley. And look how long his tail is. It's so beautiful. Hello, little buddy. Look, he's so tiny and so innocent. He doesn't care that we're standing here just eating his food. These assholes have traps for these things, and I've got a few out of the traps before. They're not snares, or they're not like bear traps or anything like that, but they're like cage traps, and they get stuck in there, and then they get separated from their family members or whatever, and it's confusing for them, especially possums. But armadillos most of them are very friendly. In Florida, you see all kinds of stuff like this, and if you ever come down here and you're not familiar with the area, always keep an eye on the water banks. There's alligators down here, and if you have little ones, they'll snatch them. You gotta keep your eye on what you're doing. There's also rattlesnakes and water moccasins and stuff. So, this thing is one of the most friendliest ones I've seen in a long time. He's a baby. I've seen him get a little bit bigger. I made another video of him before, and he's gotten bigger. His mouth is open. He's like, they'll bite you though. They do a good bite on you. They got a lot of teeth in their head. But Ashley's a good spirit. She's a good person. Animal doesn't really sense any fear from us. He knows we're not trying to hurt him. At least I'm not trying to, and neither is Ashley. Hello, little buddy. Hi. Are you doing pretty good today? You having a good day at hunting? You're doing good. I was watching you. Good boy. Go ahead. And there he goes. He'll just wait. Look, he's going to sit there. It's kind of cool. There's also raccoons. There's a family of raccoons out here. They come on the water bank. They run around the banks. We actually came over here to try to find some feathers. Ashley does dream catchers and stuff like that. Just a hobby that I do. I find feathers even since I've been a little kid. You got to take time like this, my friends. No matter where you live at, find a little place that you can disconnect from, from society and social media and all that bullshit. Because I try to tell everybody what was going to happen with Donald Trump. Man is evil. Can't do nothing about it, folks. There's an old saying, give them enough rope and they hang themselves. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're exposing themselves. And if you're watching my videos from a different country or whatever, just know that the majority of the American people are not for war, and we don't want no parts of any of this shit that's going on. We want to live in harmony. We want to live in peace and harmony with everybody in the world. We want to help people. We want to be able to have communities where everybody can live in, tranquility and peace. And I want to live in a community where we look over the elderly and the children and the weaker ones in society. And I want to live in a community where people are treated fairly and people are held accountable for their actions. I want to live in a community that race doesn't determine who they are, but their actions, person's actions determines who they are. And that's how it should be. And I grew up in a generation we didn't have all this bullshit with fucking people acting like this towards each other. If we had a problem with somebody, we'd end up fist fighting them and then being friends with them later on. But when I was in school, like I told you before, we used to, when I was a junior in high school and sophomore, like in 9th and 10th grade, we used to fight those skinheads come to our school and stuff. We'd fight these assholes because you're just one step from anarchy. That's what it is. Nobody should be telling anybody how to live their life. And that's what I have a problem with religion. I'm a spiritual man. I love Jesus. I love the Most High. But as I've gotten older, and even when I was younger, when I read the Bible, I read it as with critical thinking. One of my hobbies is, when I was a younger person, and to this day also, was I always liked reading stories about pirates, and like one of my favorite books was Treasure Island, and I also like Moby Dick and stuff. And then that's how I read the Bible, like they're stories written by man. And then I have my mom before she got married to my dad, she was very, very, very heavily involved with the Catholic Church, and she was going to be a nun. And then she took, before you become a nun back in the 60s and 70s, they gave you a year to decide if that's what you want to do, And then she met my dad, and then obviously she got married to him, and then she had me. But she always told me that, she was a scholar, a theologist, she knew about all these religions, and she studied it and went to college for it, and she loved Jesus. And she told me that one of the biggest threats to humanity and one of the biggest problems in the world is that religion being used to control the majority of the people in the world and to get them to do the most heinous things. And that's what's going on right now. We're being drawn into wars and things that are immoral because of a few people making claims from a book that they wrote a long time ago. These people wrote themselves in to where they get all the land and they get all the resources. That would be no different than any one of us writing a book and writing the book to where you say God told you that you're allowed to have this and that, and you write it down, and it's, it's supposed to be the inspired word of God, and you pass that book down to your family members, and they pass it down to other family members, and thousands of years go by, and your family starts making claims on the United States. You say, oh, well, God told me and my family that I'm allowed to own Florida, and then God told me I'm allowed to own Georgia, and all the land and all the natural resources in Florida belong to me and my people. But we'll let you stay there as long as you worship the God that I talk to. And if you don't, then I'm going to cut all the waters off. I'm going to cut all the food supply off, and I'm going to starve your family and make sure that you don't have any natural resources to survive until you come to your senses and give us our land, because it was given to us. It belongs to us. My Irish heritage said that, my ancestors, my great Pappy Sweeney was told by God that Ireland belongs to him, and our family and our bloodline, our Irish bloodline. And then, my great Pappy Kubak, he was told that Germany, Ukraine, and Poland belong to him and our family. So, and it's only the right thing to do because it's inspired by the Most High. Well, not the Most High. They're actually talking about Yahweh. And I just can't understand how people can't read this Bible and see the Old Testament, what's going on here. These are stories that were taken from other religions and pasted together to represent a group of people that are not who they say they are, first of all. But hypothetically speaking, let's say they do say who they are, who they say they are, and they have that bloodline. Well, God already did what he said he was going to do. Abraham's ancestors spread throughout Europe and throughout the world, and they're in every nation. So that's already done. And he didn't promise land to Abraham. He said, your family, you will have more family members than the stars in the sky, Your bloodline will be forever, because Abraham was a good man. And thank you. So that's why it's good to get in nature and disconnect from this stuff, because it brings you closer to the true Most High. Because the Most High loves us, and so does Jesus. That's why Jesus came here to earth, to expose this fake system, and to bring us back in touch with nature. And you create your own reality, with that. Like Ashley and I have been working on. She's studying stuff. She reads some books by Native Americans and stuff like that, and that's some really cool books that she's got. And who is it called?
Ted Andrews.
Oh, Ted Andrews. Here, show him the book that you're reading right now.
Well, this isn't by Ted Andrews. It's by Ed Fitch. It's Magical Rites from the Crystal Well.
Okay.
Ed Fitch. Celestial. And
yeah.
then there's other books. I could show him an example. The one I was trying to read last night was about hand fasting. Let me find it for you guys. I don't do I'm not, what do you call that, Wiccan or anything like that?
Yeah.
I believe in Christ, but I like to read this stuff.
There's nothing wrong with learning.
Hand fasting right is what I was reading last night, 131.
Now you got this at that crystal shop where you buy the crystals and the incense and stuff? Yeah, there's a couple places around here in Florida.
Right here, hand fasting right. Well, that's weird. I was reading something different last night. Oh,
is there another page on it? Maybe a second page.
No, I was starting to read this right here. Right of release.
She's reading that, and I was reading George Berkeley. what he was talking about how we come from the imagination of God, and then we have divine spark inside of us, and that divine spark gives us the ability to create with our imagination. So everything you see, touch, hear, sense, all your senses, all comes from God's imagination, and that imagination lives within inside you. So everything that you imagine, you create, and therefore you are creating your own reality. And none of this physical stuff that you see is actually real, but it's all created through your own imagination. For instance, if I draw a picture of a building, and I say to my wife, Ashley, I'd like to, build this. I'd like to build this home, and it's 3-bedroom, and, I draw the garden the way that I would like to do it, and then we come together, and we decided we want to put trees and different things, and paint the house a different color. Well, on paper, that's coming from my imagination, and then when I physically build that actual process came from my imagination, because if I didn't imagine it, it wouldn't existed. And that happens with you and I and everybody that's alive and breathing in that. And I don't know about animals, but I just recorded an animal. Look how peaceful and simplistic the animal's life is. That little animal wakes up and says, I'm going to the bed to go get some water and food, and that's what it does daily. That's its reality. And the bird that's over across there, he's eating food or whatever. So yeah, this stuff has been talked about for centuries, and that's the key, and that's why they use religion to control you to keep you from growing and being close to the Most High, because they want to tell you about sin. You're not a sinful person, okay? People make mistakes. That's what sin means. It means mistakes. It's not. There are people that are, their karma's fucked, and they're going to hell for some of the things that they've done, like crimes against humanity, child trafficking, human trafficking, war crimes, like what we just did to Iran today. And you're not going to see that in the news, but the United States just bombed a building and killed 50 little girls, 50 little kids gone because of us, because of our country. And everybody that voted for this guy, which you should have known by the first time, when he shut the country down and started passing out death shots to people, and your family members were dropping like fucking flies, and you should have learned from that he's evil. And people are like, oh, you're a Democrat. No, my mom was a Democrat. Most of my family members were Democrat. I actually am registered as a Republican, but I literally haven't voted in over 30 plus years. The last time I voted was for I think it was Ronald Reagan, and I was like 18 years old or whatever. That was the last time. And then I was like, this is fucked up. These people are fucked up, and I want nothing to do with it. It's just shit's evil. Let me explain something. I'm just going to tell you this. Maybe you have experienced something different. But in my 50 years of life, I have never, ever seen a president, a politician, or Congress, anybody that's in politics help anybody. My life has not been improved by any of these people. If anything, it's been my life has been blocked. So the growth. And I've been robbed along with everybody else. Where are they? Okay. Nice. Let's try some. So yeah, illegal taxation on your wages, shit like that. Banks didn't exist until the 1870s, 1860s. And people used to use guilds to do business. Andrew Jackson kicked these assholes out of our country, and it was the last president to make our country have zero debt. And he got rid of all these federal bankers, and called them a bunch of vipers, which he was right. And then 100 years later on, we're taking down this guy's statues and calling him a racist and shit because of these chicken swingers, and that's what they are. So it's pagan and pagan magic that they do. Usury, Nobody, it was illegal, and it was unlawful in the Christian and Muslim religions. And it's still to this day, the Muslims abolished usury. And this is what this war's about, if you don't know. Iran and countries like that, the Muslims do not allow usury in their countries. That means that when you go get a loan, that you're not charged exuberant amounts of interest where you'll never be able to pay it back. And in most cases, you're not allowed to charge any interest. You just pay the loan back. That's how the communities build, and that's how people become, prosperous. Because when you let somebody borrow some money to start a company, they're going to hire your family members and other people in the community, and everybody's going to be able to work and grow together. That's how it's supposed to work, and that's how it worked in America. Like I said, the guild companies it started in Philadelphia. These people built the most exuberant and luxurious buildings that's ever been created in American history, and they're still, a lot of them are still standing today. And they did it by using the guild system. Men and women that had traits would go sign on for a couple years, however long the project took, and all their food was taken care of, their shelter was taken care of, their clothes, anything that they needed to live, and then they just worked. And everybody traded their skills for what they needed. And in some cases, I'm sure they got some kind of little bit of money out of it also. But our system was gold and silver. And then the bankers came along, and they fucking destroyed the Titanic, which wasn't even the original Titanic, and took out the people that were against the Federal Reserves. And by the way, every Federal Reserve that's ever been created has always failed. This is the longest this one has lasted. And it's coming to a grinding halt very soon. This guy made one of the biggest mistakes messing with Iran like that. I guess you people don't know history, because they're the Persians, and those people almost took over the world quite a few times throughout history. Maybe you should look into Alexander the Great and some of the other fellas in history that during the Holy Crusades, Saddam and Saddam, I think his name was. He fought against Baldwin, the Leopard King. They made a truce together, and then later on, when the Leopard King passed away, Jerusalem was taken back by the Muslims, and they allowed the Crusaders to leave the Holy Lands in peace. And then I think it was who was it? Richard the Lionheart went back over there, and they tried to take the land back again, but all over religion. And they weren't doing that to spread to Christianity. They were doing that to steal the natural resources of that area and loot and purge the country. Just like the chicken swingers are doing to America right now. They're purging our country and looting it in live time. And when there's nothing left of it and it's a shallow how they're going to destroy it, set it on fire. They're going to burn it to the ground, like they do every country. The Egyptians back in the Bible weren't chasing these people because they killed their son, because Yahweh put a curse on them and their firstborn child died. They were chasing them because the Egyptians found out that Moses and his people robbed and purged and looted their country and stole all their gold and silver and all their as much natural resources as they could take from these people, and went across the desert with it, and they chased them in the desert, allegedly. I don't believe any of that stuff. I believe the things that happen are written down, because you have to realize there's a few things that these people were having to do to make money, and one of them was sacrificing. That's why with Cain and Abel's story, that thing's full of holes, and Yahweh allegedly favored Abel. Because of he was sacrificing lambs to him, and then Cain was working off the land, and he didn't appreciate his trait, and that was a story that was told by physicians and Greeks. There was a different variation of it, but the other story was the opposite of what the Jewish story goes. The original story was that the God of that area um, um, accepted the farmer's work and appreciated the farmer's work more than the shepherd. And then it turned into that Cain killed his brother Abel because he was jealous, and the first murder on earth. Which none of that makes, when you start looking into that story, there's so many holes in it that it falls apart pretty fast. Allegedly, there was only three. There's Cain and Abel and Seth, and then Cain gets kicked out of the Garden of Eden, and he goes on and meets a wife. And then there's some people say, well, that was his sister, which is even worse because that's inbreeding. He meets a wife and from different people, so God had to put a mark on Cain so people were not to kill him. He was supposed to be a wanderer of the world or whatever, which I don't believe that either. I believe that that the God that they're talking about in the Bible didn't even know that other people were made, because the Most High made everything, and this God of this world didn't even know that there were other people made. So he only thought that there was Cain, Abel, and Seth, and Adam and Eve, when there was a whole other world of people made by the Most High. And this is this kind of stuff that Jesus exposed when he came down. He was telling his disciples, you're literally worshiping the devil, and you're worshiping demigods. You're not actually worshiping the Most High. And Yahweh is not the Most High. He's the God of this world, and he's powerful, but he ain't the devil either. The devil is the devil, and Yahweh is Yahweh, and Jesus is Jesus, and they're all different entities. But a lot of the religions that we are involved in today come from Greek gods, Roman gods, physicians, all these different gods that have been around a long time. And that's why the Bible is full of different gods, because there are different gods, and that's what these people are doing. They're trying to bring those old gods back for people to worship them. And that's why you have to be aware of what you're doing. You're not being blasphemous, or you're not no heretic because you don't agree with religious people going around fucking slaughtering little kids and slaughtering innocent people because some God told them to do that. If God wanted these people dead, he could do it himself. He wouldn't even need any of us to do any of that. They would just die. They wouldn't stand a chance. And like I said with Moses, that was a story about Yahweh showing his power over the other gods. Like he blocked out the sun, and that's Ra, and these people worship Ra. That was the most powerful god in their godhood, and that's why he blocked out the sun, to show these people, well, not even your god Ra can stop me. And the same with the rivers flowing with blood. That's another god. That's a god of prosperity and fertility. He's showing them that their gods aren't able to stop them. It's written by men, okay, that were trying to make money off of sacrificing animals and shit like that, because it costs money to give that priest that to get your sins taken off the board. So these people are evil, man. That's all it boils down to. They're just evil. Anybody that does the stuff that these folks are doing in a civilized society would have been arrested and held accountable for their actions, but because of greed and money, nobody's being held accountable by anybody, because one, comes down to a bunch of stupid people. People are very dumb, and they don't see the training until it hits them. And unfortunately, the people that are not trying to be involved in any of this stuff are the ones that's going to suffer along with these other idiots. So if a civil war takes place, God forbid, just stay the fuck away from people, because there ain't nobody you're gonna be able to trust. And in the best case scenario, if that actually happens, that most of these people fucking die of starvation and dehydration. And when we start a new society, we won't have to deal with this fucking idiocy anymore, and we won't have people electing pedos and we won't have a corrupt corrupt dual party system, and we won't have foreign countries dictating what we do in here in our country. This has gotten so fucking out of hand, it's not even fixable. But if I'm going to see this and I'm out of here, if you have children at 18 to 20, 30-year-old people, do your best to keep them out of this war, because your kids are going to get slaughtered over there, man. And don't let them have the manpower. The people that are in the military right now, you don't have to listen to these folks. If you're given direct orders, and those orders are immoral and unconstitutional, don't do it. It's better to go to jail and be alive than to listen to a fucking idiot and get your fucking head blown off, or worse, you're going to commit war crimes. And when this is all sorted out, just like they did with the Germans, you're going to be held accountable. People are going to arrest your ass. You're going to go to you're going to have trials, and you're going to be executed, and your family name and everything that goes along with you being a human being is going to be, you're going to be fucking put on a list of the most despicable people ever to walk the face of the earth. The son of a bitches that bombed that building today and killed those 50 little girls that died, you're going to prison for that shit, bro. When this gets sorted out and we end up losing, because we're going to lose this shit, and that's what these Israel people are trying to do. They're trying to destroy this country, if you don't know that, because this is biblical shit we're dealing with. They wrote the book, and they're trying to make their reality come true. Just like I was saying about Barkley and all those people, they're trying to project their reality into factual, physical reality. They're using their imagination to create evil, and you don't have to participate in that. You do not have to participate in any of the stuff that these people are telling you to do. That's not what you are, and that's not who you are. Don't be part of that. You're a good person. Just be yourself and be strong in the Lord, and don't let these people trick you. They're not that smart. They just have the money, and that's all they can give you. They can try to manipulate you with money, and if you're not involved in fucked up shit, they've got no dirt on you, man. So let them do and say whatever they want to say. Let them call you names. Let them try to characterize you. You know the truth about yourself, and so does the Most High. And defend your family and your friends to the best of your abilities, man. Because this shit ain't straight, dude. None of this is straight. And you're the one that's going to suffer at the end, because you will be held accountable for this. You're going to be arrested after this war's over, and they're going to fucking put you in fucking prison, or you're going to get executed for war criminal. You're a war criminal. You're bombing innocent civilians. Isn't it bad enough what the fuck you did to Gaza and Cuba, what you people are doing to these folks over there? You're going to be held accountable for this shit. It's not proper to do this to people. You know it in your heart. I don't give a fuck if you're the baddest Marine on the face of the earth. You didn't sign up to do that. You signed up to defend the weak and protect our country, not kill innocent civilians and slaughter people that are not trying to cause us problems. They're just like you and I. They just want to have a family and live in peace and enjoy life. And you're going over there fucking with these people because of some fucking chicken swinger and some pedo president that should have been put in prison fucking decades ago. The fact that you got a TV show host as a fucking president should be to tell everything. Look at the size of that son of a bitch. Oh my goodness. That was a big boy. Looked like a bass. He was about 5 pounds. Did you see that, fellas? I'm gonna bring a fishing pole out here one day, and we're gonna do business with these things and have some fun. I'll show you what the kind of fish is in here. Well, anyway, everybody have a good day, and be safe out there, and know one thing: the Most High loves you, and so do I. Okay, so just hang in there, folks. Get prepared for what's coming. Get yourself as much water as you possibly can, salt, peanut butter, jelly, all kinds of stuff that you're going to need, because when this war starts and the price of gas goes up and everything goes up, things are going to hit this fucking fan, as they say. So be prepared.